Hello and welcome to a Movie Math Special Report where we're going to talk about what everyone is talking about. And of course, that's Avengers Infinity War. I'm getting more and more questions from you guys about not just where Avengers Infinity War will open, but also where it will end up. And some of your ambitions are as great as Thanos's. You want the top spot. Is it possible? Let's discuss. Now, we're going to start our conversation with the opening weekend. And right now, Avengers Infinity War is pegged at a $215 million domestic debut, which would give it the third biggest opening of all time, behind another Disney brand, Star Wars. It actually has the top two spots. That's amazing. However, though, as you can see, Avengers Infinity War's early estimate, I want to stress that this is an early estimate, so, the only place to go is up, especially with this type of movie. So it is within striking distance of The Last Jedi, and could very well end up claiming the runner-up spot when it comes to all-time opening weekends. Now, while I was compiling my notes for this special report, I was like, why does Star Wars open so much bigger than Marvel, and consistently? So let's break it down. All right, so I have two opening weekends here for you, broken down by the different demographics, and I've chosen The Last Jedi, which was the last Star Wars movie, but then Civil War was my choice to represent Marvel because it was the last group film. Many called it Avengers 2.5. So interestingly, despite Kathleen Kennedy's efforts to reach out to a diverse audience, both franchises remain reliant on white males. How awkward for Kathleen Kennedy, especially after she said she felt she owed them nothing. You literally owe them quite a bit. And also, she's made such a strong push into diversity, it's kind of embarrassing not to see it be rewarded by audiences. They're not interested. They don't care. They're not coming out to see the characters that you created specifically for them. All right, so anyway, this isn't a Star Wars special report, but it's interesting. But speaking of Star Wars, it is 14% higher, as you can see, when it comes to the over 25 set, showing that fans of the original films are an important foundation for the current franchise's financial success. Again, we're talking about Star Wars here. Now, Marvel, of course, is just 10 years in, and they're building their own foundation for decades down the line, which is so crazy to think about. And I was like, well, why is it crazy to think about? Well, that's because Star Wars movies came out in spurts, or at least they used to, whereas Marvel movies have been continuous. So they're going to be continuously coming out for, the rest of time. That's the plan, according to Disney, and of course their plan for Star Wars as well. It's going pretty darn well for Marvel, although it's been a bit choppier for Star Wars, although you can't argue with the numbers that it is posting. It's so high up on these charts. Will that remain the case? We'll see. All right, so while Star Wars enjoys an advantage in terms of age, Marvel has enjoyed an advantage in terms of the support from African-American moviegoers. I mean, the numbers aren't huge in either opening weekend, as you can see, although last place for The Last Jedi. What a commentary on Finn. But anyway, it's double, but it's only 18% for Civil War. Whew, it's a good thing they brought Black Panther and his crew, right? And on that note, Black Panther has increased the African-American moviegoer support for Marvel overall, and those characters are heavily featured in Infinity War. Pretty smart, Feige, right? And in fact, I believe that African-American moviegoers could be Avengers Infinity War's secret box office weapon, because they were the biggest demographic to turn out for Black Panther's opening weekend at 37%. That movie opened right between Civil War and Last Jedi. So, you're going from 9 to 18 to 37. So even if not the full 37% show up for Infinity War, that's going to be a boost, right? And that will propel the 215 projection upward, right? It's also worth noting that because of its strong supporting female characters, Black Panther also did better with women in terms of the male to female ratio. Black Panther had 44%, so that could give Avengers Infinity War a boost as well, because of course, two of those characters are also featured prominently with posters and everything in Infinity War. So that's the opening weekend. I think 215 is probably a pretty safe bet, but again, I do feel there's a very strong chance it could pop up into the runner-up spot. I do not think it will open on par with The Force Awakens. All right, so now again for the long haul, the long run, where's it going to end up? Well, let's use Black Panther now as an example, because Avengers Infinity War is coming off of that film, that heat. It's riding its coattails, and Black Panther, of course, had a lot of heat. But despite its boffo debut and boffo box office overall, Black Panther, for all that hoopla and hype, has just entered the all-time top 10, taking out Frozen. Friendly fire. Oh, there's so much friendly fire going on at the box office with Disney. Wait till we get to the end of this video. All right, so the reason that it's not doing quite as strong overall as it is domestically is because of a soft overseas performance. I know a lot of you don't like to hear that, but you can see the numbers, right? It has the lowest, by far, the lowest percentage of foreign box office of all the top 10 entries of all time at 49%. But that's good news for Avengers Infinity War because it means there's a lot more money waiting overseas for the third Avengers flick. Now, the first Avengers had 59% of its box office from overseas, and Ultron had 67%, although that larger number is partially because it made almost $200 million less domestic while staying relatively steady overseas. Now, Avatar, again, the movie to beat, many of you would love to see this happen, but that has a whopping 73% of its box office from overseas, which was the tune of $2 billion alone, just overseas, before you even count the US box office. It got into the $2 billion club on overseas box office alone, and then the US ponied up an additional $760 million. Wow. Yeah, it's pretty much impossible for Avengers Infinity War to beat out Avatar. I just don't think that's going to happen. So then the real question becomes, can it join the $2 billion club? Well, to do so, considering its overseas box office will likely be somewhere between 50 and 65%, right, based on previous Marvel movies, it would need a domestic haul of over $700 million, something that even Black Panther couldn't do. Only 2 movies have ever done that, The Force Awakens and Avatar. Therefore, I'm going to realistically peg Avengers Infinity War at performing along the same lines as Jurassic World. That got to $652 million domestic. Black Panther just inched past that, and it had $1 billion overseas, giving it a 61% overseas box office share. Not too shabby. More than just average. That would be an amazing performance for Avengers Infinity War. I know some of you might be disappointed that it might not unseat Avatar or The Force Awakens, but still, or even get into the $2 billion club. But this would be amazing. It would make Avengers Infinity War the biggest MCU film of all time and the biggest comic book movie of all time. And it would also be in the all-time top 5, either ending up above or below Jurassic World. Now, of course, there are other factors like reviews, audience reaction to plot points, lots of surprises we've been promised, and who knows, they could be bad surprises. The movie could have a backlash, an audience backlash like The Last Jedi. But no matter what happens, it'll surely be not just in the $1 billion club, but I suspect in the top 10 movies of all time. Maybe pushing out Black Panther. Oops, how would you feel about that? I'm very curious how you guys would feel about that. So many of you are rooting for Avengers Infinity War, but at what cost? It's fascinating. And again, this is the new set of problems that Disney faces with all these brands. So that's my special report on the Avengers Infinity War box office. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts and own predictions down below. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.